Hello, everyone. Welcome by this special edition because in a few days it will be a Valentine's Day. So many people is thinking more about love and passion, and so we prepared something special for you with Christy. Hi, Christy.
Hi, hello again.
Yeah, so this is our conversation because both of us we are just working with space and energy in space and how the energy affects like all areas of our life. So here we are
Here we are.
talk talking about how our home can influence our relationships.
Mhm. A lot.
Yeah, a lot. And you can just start with the topic.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I it is amazing how much our homes can either support or undermine our relationships and all relations, not just romantic relationships, but all those. And it's even just the littlest things that can really nag at you. I'll start out with an example because why not?
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
I was talking to a client yesterday, and sleep patterns, bedrooms, are romance. Bedrooms are complicated, in that they are for a couple are for often for romance, for connecting, sometimes heterosexual couples, it's for conception and dealing with fertility stuff and sleep. So there's so many layers to it. And then I think bedrooms are also the most private part of our homes. So they can easily be also the dumping ground or the place like that gets the least attention, where in my opinion they should get the most attention for both for the foundation of a relationship as well as a good night's sleep, which is going to make everything easier, right? Um, so what I was just talking to a client, and um, she is very male and female, very uh, sensitive to light and is a light sleeper. And they have a hallway to their bathroom in their bedroom, and the closets are like in that hallway. And her husband would get up and turn the light on because he had some challenges, seeing in the dark, and that would wake her up. And is that little thing of like the light, he needs to do his thing, she needs to sleep. Both of these are very reasonable requests, needs, and yet him turning on the light was waking her up. I think at one point she unscrewed the light bulb, which is pissing him off. So you have that little thing, and that's how they're both starting the day, like with that. So I was like, okay, well, there's not room to put a door, or she wanted a sliding door. Let's just put up a nice dark, like curtain, so that he can go behind the curtain and that will block the light. And oh my gosh, suddenly she's getting better sleep. He's able to do what he has to do without annoying and waking her up. He can just, and it's like those little tiny things. And I think the other thing that's really deep and profound that we don't think about or talk about is that doing these things in our home, the physical things, are so symbolic and connected to who we are, that it also helps us practice our boundaries. Creating physical boundaries is so powerful in helping us practice how we hold boundaries. So for her to put a curtain up and say, it's not okay for me to to be awoken by you every morning, that is a very powerful action to do that then strengthens her resolve. And it's not just a one-time thing, because everything that we see is speaking to our subconscious mind all day, every day. So every time she sees that curtain, how many times a day? 100? I don't know. Um, it is reinforcing that she is good at creating positive boundaries that support her own well-being as well as her relationship.
Yeah, and exactly, this is when you can see that, and especially for women, is mostly like it's so difficult to build boundaries because you want to serve, you want to help, you want to nurture others, and it's so important to like to be there for them.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah. Now we're getting into like really the depth and the really the foundation of like, this is not about, putting two heart candles in the relationship corner. This is about the depth of our homes. And I have often said to women, like, I think that our homes have lost so much of the sacredness and the potential it has for really creating transformation and magic in our home, because the burden of responsibility that has been put on women, the mental load, the emotional load, the physical load of managing our homes, that home has become this burden, and has women have the stepped into being providers as well, but yet in many relationships are still not in an equal partnership as far as how the home is taken care of. That there is just like, we've lost so much of that spark. And years ago, 20 years ago, I was in a women's circle
yeah,
on a phone, and phone conference, and it was a lot of older women who were like first generation feminists who had really fought the good fight to get equal rights in the workplace. And one day I said the thing that did not go over well. And I said, I think all of this would have been a lot easier if you had fought for equal rights in the home first. And then the workplace would have been a lot easier if you had a foundation of having equal rights at home. Ooh, it did
yeah.
not go over well
Oh,
with them. But
yeah, this is again so important topic because I love how you mentioned that it was sacred space and before women just was there for taking care and men was providers and of course in our society now it's different but there is still somehow it's expected from women that they will do all that before and in the same time they will just go to work and do all the other things and it's
mhm,
so yeah it could be so overwhelming and then
right.
yeah exactly the home is just another like
Right. And yet the potential for the home to be this sacred place, I believe our homes can be a beautiful place to help us heal, to be a creative medium, to be a tool for transformation and manifesting. I think that our homes can just be such a beautiful reflection of who we want to be and to be supportive. And I have seen such magic and miracles happen with relationships, both in honestly in uncoupling people that really didn't belong together, and I have been one of them, um, and in coupling, in helping strengthen relationships in sometimes the most simple ways, like hanging a curtain.
yeah and this is also we somehow lost that I don't know if capacity or something, but home where before it was like about like oh home sweet home how you feel there but
Right,
today
right,
in these times everything is so fast that you don't have time to feel something you just get home you have to
right,
now to cook dinner or something and just doing and doing and
right,
you
right,
don't have time to feel something so
right, right. And sadly, with social media, we have the Pinterest world, and my dad calls like homes like, museum grade. Like, some people think they need to have like this, and it's like, even if you are, you know, there's a certain degree of clutter that is just natural for living. Yes, there's a separate thing from like the doom boxes that sit there for 3 years. No shame, no shade to any of that, because there's often some very deep stuff below that. Everything means something, and everything's energy, right? So, but just in the everyday living, the clothes that don't get put in the hamper but fall on the floor, and the dishes that are left out, and the crumbs that are on the, like, all that stuff, like that is just normal living stuff. Like, that's just being human. It is a lot of work being human.
Yeah, you just don't have like completely clear the house in every second. Okay, sometimes there are dishes, and then you can just do it later. It's okay if it's not there like 1 week.
Right,
So
right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes you just have to make a choice, like, between, like, you know what? The dust bunnies are just gonna continue to, as I like to call my dust bunnies, are gonna continue to colonize because I've got more important stuff to do. Like, I've got I've got a business, I've got things to share with people. I wanna help others with their homes as well, so sometimes my home just, it doesn't happen, and then, I have ADHD. That just makes it a whole lot harder to stay focused to do anything. Especially stuff I don't like.
Yeah, yeah. So there are so many like directions we can go, but
Mhm, mhm.
let's turn back to the relationships
Yes, yes.
and how we can bring more love and more even passion into our
Yeah.
relationships.
Mhm, mhm. You want me to start there? I think, well, I think that first of all, having a bedroom that, and let's just start with the bedroom. That's where you're connecting, and that's where you are. And the first thing that you see when you walk in, I think, is the most important thing in any room, because it's kind of like the opening credits of a movie. It tells you, it gives you this, the energy, the sense of like, what is this room about? And you stop and just, even like, what is your intention in your bedroom? Like, even stopping and right there and just being really clear about what is your intention. What is the balance between, we need a good night's sleep, and we need more romance, we need more passion, we need more just connection and intimacy. We need to just not just fall into bed and sit and look at our screens, but we need to have a connection together and talk and just be together. And the first thing that you see, that's the last place that you should see clutter. And I am all for being a maximalist. I am all for, having many things that spark joy or spark love, spark passion. But I think our bedrooms are the last place to have clutter, and to be as minimal as possible, to keep your mind as clear as possible. So that first thing you see when you walk in the room, that is the thing that is like setting you up and helping your mind shift out of the dust bunnies and the toilet paper that's running out and the kids that are arguing and all the things, that when we walk into that bedroom and the first thing that you see, that is like the object, the picture, the whatever, that is going to help your mind reset into that love, romance, connection, the two of you. So this is probably not the place to put a family picture if you want to have more romance, right? Like, let's take the kids out of the bedroom, honestly.
Yeah,
But,
this is exactly what I wanted to mention. Like,
right?
okay, it could be your picture, like both of you in like looking very happy, and this is what you want from your relationship. But pictures of other persons, like it's
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, right. And there's that thing. It's funny having. I often work with people who have already have layers of feng shui in their home, and so it's like things of twos. You want two things. We have to just be careful. Like I worked with a woman who was wanting to bring love into her life, and she had like put up. She had two of like every cute little animal in her bedroom. It was like, there becomes a part where she was the only one on Noah's Ark without a date, honestly. And it was like, well, I'm like, okay, let's pull it back a little bit. So, but no, I've honestly seen a couple of times big pictures in bedrooms with like three birds on a branch, the lion and two female lions, and there's been infidelity. Like what we see speaks to us. So being conscious of what the metaphors, what the stories that we are seeing. And so that's where, bedrooms don't have to be romantic in like a boudoir kind of way if that's not your jam. If your most romantic place where you connect is camping, then given, maybe having a picture of a beautiful view that you've seen or would love to see of trees, of a lake, of an ocean, whatever, when you walk in and it's like, oh, that's our place. That's our place.
Yeah, and especially in bedroom is important, like these symbols, what you see, because you are spending a lot of time there. You are in this, before uh, sleep, and when you wake up, and you are in this kind of, your mind is especially receptive, and so it's important what you can see. And
Right. Right. And we have so much other things going on in our lives and our minds that when we can walk into the bedroom, we need as much support often as possible to shift into romantic mode, into like, this is where I connect. It's like, because there's so much, I mean, like, think about it. Like, if you're getting ready for bed and you're like hoping to have some connect, not, whether it is a hot, passionate night or just like having a lovely, quick conversation that you feel connected and you can discuss what your feelings are and what's going on in each of your lives, and really honor and see and love each other. But if you've just like come from the kitchen and you've like just loaded the dishwasher and cleaned up the spill on the floor, and it's like, and then you're thinking about like, maybe you jotted down a few things you've got to do at work tomorrow, or the first thing you've got to check your email for tomorrow, and then you walk into the bedroom and all that's stirring in your head. But if you walk into the bedroom and your bedroom is supporting you and is this place that is saying, hey, whoa, yeah, let that go. Remember this. Remember your connection. Remember that trip you had. Remember that moment. Remember your proposal. Remember, whatever it is, that can help you, without having to do all the mental work of like, oh, right, I gotta, and having it helps you shift. Maybe there's a beautiful carpet that, a little rug that you step into, and it just helps transport. You feel the fuzziness under your feet, and you're like, oh, yeah. And maybe, the lighting is different. Lighting is so important.
yeah,
Like having some lights, even on, now you can have like Alexa change it for you, like at 10 o'clock, put on these like, light. I have some lighting background, and right now it's like my webcam's not working, so I'm in this my crappy little computer thing, and I'm like, oh, there's not enough light, but having lighting that is soft and dimming that you feel romantic in, rather than just like the overhead light, like, that makes a big difference. I have like little light cues at night, like at a certain time I turn off certain lights, and I have like, so to help us like, you know, calm down even.
yeah, even maybe even build some rituals before, like in bedroom, and you also can have like material or physical tangible reminders of that, corner with candles, and you can lit those candles and have romantic atmosphere.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah. I love that, and also even the approach to your bedroom, like if it goes into a hallway, if you're in a hallway, like how is that, taking you there? And I love the idea of, yeah, of rituals. And maybe, if there's a little place where as you turn out the lights, you turn down that, all that kind of stuff. Like there's a little ritual and intention to it. Um, that helps you just shift your mindset and your energy, because to walk into a bedroom like kind of cranky and pissed off that, all those things versus like, okay, I have had this intentional moment of doing that. Like I have this intentional moment when I get up in the mornings and I turn on my rainbow lights. And it's like, that's how I start. That's it. We have opened for the day.
Yeah, and maybe we could talk also about what you don't want to have in a bedroom. So, what can spoil your
Yes.
romantic
Yes.
atmosphere?
Right. Besides those pictures, well, like threes, unless that's what you're into. No, that's yeah. Um, well, one of the things that is is honoring what might trigger someone else, because sometimes there's that thing that like this is so important to me. I'm just picking up something like this. I love this, and yet there is something about this that like this reminds your partner of maybe a hockey puck that they got hit in the head and got a concussion and could never play in the playoff. You know, so having this conversation about what each other loves and hates, because there is no better way that to undermine a relationship than having stuff that triggers a trauma response in somebody else. Now, this might be like super important to you, so don't put it in the bedroom. Put it someplace, where your other person who it's triggered by is not going to see it. You can create a special place, for yourself, that you can really honor yourself and not them. It is really important because it's like that light bulb, right? It's like all these little things that can like, so having a conversation, and just because something is important to you, if it is painful for somebody else, they you are undermining yourself and your relationship. So this is important, to have a conversation, to work together. This is not about one, like taking on the mental load of the bedroom, but truly working together. Like, hey, do you like this? This is a beautiful place to work on partnership, on collaboration, on creating a bedroom that you both love and feel comfortable and empowered in. So that, as much as, it's like, well, don't have things of, fours, and, we can talk about colors, but, what I have learned is that there are, I've taught thousands of people and I've had hundreds and hundreds of clients over almost 25 years. So there's a lot of commonalities of humans, but there is also always, always exceptions, that this is what works for everybody, but not for you. And that is totally perfect. And this is where listening to your own intuition and going like, hey, this doesn't feel right. Like, okay, let's not do that. So, I remember I first learned this, because I started out like mirrors. I'm not a fan of mirrors in the bedroom, honestly. They Mirrors, even having talked to a physicist, mirrors can increase the energy bouncing around in a room by 80%. So that's just more energy. And then you also have light reflects off of mirrors. What you see in it can actually double it. So if you have a mirror facing your pile of clutter or the toilet, well, then you're kind of like doubling it. Like, do you really want to see twice as much stuff? Like, so I'm not a big fan of mirrors in the bedroom. Now, sometimes you can't move them and cover them up. I know I sleep significantly better with nothing reflective in a room. I'm a more sensitive person. Now, I said this, I had a couple once, and honestly, they just seemed so different. I mean, they really were just, I'm like, part of me is like, I am fascinated because they are wildly in love, and it just doesn't. I don't. I'm not. I don't. I'm curious. I'm celebrating this incredible passionate love that these two have for each other and have had. And I said something about mirrors, and they're like, something about mirrors in the bedroom, and they're like, oh yeah, oh, we have mirrors in the bedroom, and we have a mirrored ceiling, and I'm like, oh, and they're like, yeah, that's non-negotiable, and I was like, oh, and I said something about like sleeping. They're like, oh, by the time we get to sleep, we sleep very well. So it's kind of funny, and that's not the only couple that has had mirrored ceilings, or and I will say they all sleep just fine because they are exhausted by the time they get to sleep. So,
Uh, yeah, and yeah, this is also important, but it's important to acknowledge that, like, okay, this is the rule, but it doesn't work for me. So, okay, and give yourself permission to like do that,
right, right.
what your intuition is
Yes, yes.
telling you. Yeah. And
You
when we are
know,
this reflective uh, reflections, also, what do you think about television in bedroom?
You know, I have come to learn I don't really get to have a thought about it because it's such a personal thing. I mean, there are some it's either like I can't fall asleep without it, and sometimes that's a thing like, I was an only child to a single mom and I was alone a lot and that was my comfort. Like that was so, it's like if somebody is attached to the TV. Although now I think with personal devices between phones and tablets, I think even TVs in the bedroom are sometimes going away. But maybe you have a TV that like everybody piles in and watches movies in the bed in the bedroom, on a Saturday night, and it's a big family, fest. Or maybe you watch movies or TV show together. So I think again it's personal. If that there is that reflective aspect to it. So and there's energy. So I do love having something to cover it up with, like some beautiful shawl or a tapestry or something. We don't really have those armoires, the big armoires for the big TVs anymore. Um,
Yeah, and but you need to be like intentional with what you are going to watch
right,
before and when we are we are talking about couples, and some passionate night, so
yeah,
you probably wouldn't be like inspired to like bring some passion into a relationship after watching some like horror movie or something like that.
right,
So
right.
basically I wouldn't suggest to bring TV into your bedroom because it's another
Mhm.
like elements, something that can like come between you and your partner because
Right,
but again it's individual.
right,
So,
right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't have one in my bedroom, and it's also like just choosing the room. Like, how much space do you need? Like our homes are designed in from like this, white male patriarchal approach. And it's like, well, yeah, I don't like, do primary suites really need to be that big? Like, we can see like, oh, the king needs his space, but really? Like, could that space not be used better? Actually, in my home, I have the smallest bedroom because all I really need is a bed. I don't even keep my clothes in that closet in my bedroom. So um, it, I don't. Um, yeah, I think
yeah,
claiming that the master suite might actually be better for the kids or your office.
yeah. And okay, so we talked about what you need to have in your bedroom and what to avoid.
Mhm.
What else influences our relationship in our home?
Well,
Or
I
maybe
think yeah,
colors. We can talk about
colors.
colors.
Yes, and I want to also say one thing about and just that isn't talked about is that one of the best things for your relationship might even be to not sleep together in the same room. And you would be surprised how common that is. And especially in different stages of a family's life, in the early days with kids, if you're co-sleeping with little kids and one parent needs to be up early to work, that might make sense to not sleep together. One person might, you might have different time schedules. You might have somebody that snores really loud and somebody so sometimes, you can certainly have a place for romance and connecting, and then you can have a place where you just get a good night's sleep. And as you get older, you're more sensitive to that too. And so I think you would be surprised. And I remember even being on the other side of it. I worked with a gentle sleep coach because my kiddo did not like to sleep. And I was so tired. I was driving off the road practically. And I remember her even saying, I said something about, because at that point, my kid's dad was sleeping on the couch in his office in our home. And I was like, oh, and she's like, and this is, I was so tired. I had forgotten how common this is. And she's like, oh, Christine, you would be shocked at how many couples don't sleep in the same bed most nights together. So I just want to say, I think it's those things that we don't talk about, and there's often so many layers of shame around our homes that, I often joke, but not joke, that more people would rather have a public pap smear than show people publicly what their clutter looks like in their home.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up this topic, not sleeping together in one room, because this is also my story. Because we have a beautiful relationships and with a lot of love and romance, but just I had a phase when I just couldn't fall asleep, and we have exactly like a different schedule, and it was so complicated. I was so tired, and if you are suffering from sleep deprivation all the time, and it's like,
Yeah, right.
so we solved the problem, and now we are okay. But it's still this shame, I don't mention that to others, because it's like, oh,
No,
do you have
right.
some problems? No, but I just
No,
need to sleep
I need to sleep.
alone, because I'm so
Mhm.
sensitive to everything, and we have
Right,
different schedule, and it's like,
right. Yeah, I think that's amazing. I mean, and I think in an ideal, if there was space, you could have a romance room, and then you'd each have your own bedrooms, your own sleeping
yeah,
or sleeping pods or whatever. I think, I always thought that, the ideal also was if you have a glorious master's bathroom, it's I always I want two toilets. I do not want to share a toilet with you. I want my own toilet. That was our, I was
yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. So yeah, but coming to color, I think that's a really, really important thing because um, color color is vibration. I mean, that's what a rainbow is. It's colors are different vibrations. And so they do affect us. And I will say that by and large, again, warmer tones are definitely on average more romantic inducing. You think about it, they're going to reflect a little bit off of us also. So a warm tone is going to even just make your skin tone look better, as opposed to green or blue up against your skin. It just doesn't look as vibrant. You don't feel as,
yeah.
I noticed I had a little, I like to call it my dress rehearsal marriage very briefly in my 20s. And it's funny, I had this like royal blue nightgown. And I swear, it was like, I realized, like, this is the not tonight, honey color. As gorgeous as it was, and I looked good in it, it was like, I noticed, like, hmm, it like, things just did never, like, a argument got sparked or somebody fell, like, it just never, like, there's something kind of interesting about colors, and so people are like, well,
Yeah.
and I love like we don't want it too invigorating, right? Because like, you know, how many clients actually I worked with, and this is fortunate before I became a mom, um, who had little girls, and they say, well, our daughter, she never sleeps, and it was funny because I'd often go to houses like in the evening and work with couples after the kids went to sleep. Sometimes I'd be part of like their date night. I loved that. Like I'd come and they'd have like cheese and wine, and I'm like helping them with their bedroom. It was so much fun. Um, Now we're more online, but still, I love that. And but it was funny. A number of times on cue, the little girl would come running out in like hot pink and bright lavender, and her bedroom was like hot pink and bright lavender and like these bright. I was like, you can't sleep in that. By the time I had a kid, was like, no, like here's the colors for jammies, like green, gray, blue. Like we are not like anybody. I'm like, don't even bother buying pink jammies. Like just don't even bother. Like we already had enough trouble sleeping. So yeah, but I love this like a warm, like a butter creamy color that's not too bright. Like if I have to say there is a default color for romance, I would say like a butter creamy yellow that like reflects well. Yellow is also a color that can trigger, I can't remember if it's dopamine or serotonin, one of those joy hormones in our brain that makes us happy. So seeing yellow actually can help us automatically feel happy. So if I have to say there is a default color, it would be yellow. Like a, not like sunshine, but a
Oh, that creamy and like
buttery yellow.
soft. Yeah,
And it
yeah.
becomes a nice neutral that everything pretty much goes with it.
Yeah, and there is also a difference, like what color you put on your walls, because it's a lot of, s- um, it. You can see a lot of that color, but on smaller decorations, on cushions or something, you can be more creative with maybe even some red or
Yeah,
pink,
right.
but soft and always it's important, like harmony,
Yes, yes,
not too much, no,
right, right.
but not everything in one color.
Yeah,
So, and this
yeah,
is individual as well, like you can experiment, but it's easier to switch cushions than just
right,
paint
right. And a
whole room.
bed,
So,
a bed cover, duvet cover is a
oh
lot
yeah,
easier to change out. And here's another thing. I've had, clients over the years that want to change color, and we have become so accustomed to living in like beige off-white homes that when you add color, remember that is vibration. So you're
yeah,
changing the vibration of a room. And there have been a number of clients over the years that have wanted, to change, even like I want to make an exit wall that's burgundy. I had one client, he wanted to go from like off-white to a pale pink. And inevitably I get a call often from people like, "Oh my god," they're halfway through. "Oh my god, this is too bright. I can't handle it." I mean, even like the palest, like paler than my, pale pink. "Oh my god, this is too much. This is just too much. I can't do this." I'm like, "Okay, look, here's the deal. Finish the wall and live with it for 2 weeks. And if you hate it in 2 weeks, if it is still too much like change of vibration for you, I will come and personally help you paint it back. I love to paint." I have never had to repaint a wall. Within 2 weeks, they love it. But it is an adjustment. It is an adjustment, especially if you're
Yeah.
not accustomed to living with color. Um, it can be too much. And, you know, it's just adjusting to it. If that's your intention, is to bring more
Yeah.
color into your life. Yeah.
Yeah, because with changing our environment, it changes something in us. So
Mhm.
it's connected. So we need to be intentional
Yeah, yeah.
in changes and
And this might be a good point to talk also about fertility, because I have had quite a few clients over the years that have had infertility issues. And we talk about the intention of a bedroom. And going into their bedroom, it's like they've made it, or sometimes she, and this is, I'm talking about like heteronormative conception here. I'm talking about, that biological conception. I don't want to be not inclusive, that there are many ways that conception happens. But if in the situation of people trying to conceive, a couple trying to conceive in a bedroom, um, heteronormative conception, um, the bedroom has become like all about a baby. Like I can't tell you like how often women are trying to conceive and they are so focused on the baby. And remember those pictures, the Annie Geddes ones that have like the cute little babies that are like peas in a pod. And I swear one time I walked into the bedroom and it was like a gallery. Like it was just babies everywhere. And I'm like, this is the least sexy room I have ever been in. I mean, I said, we got to clear this out. Like, this is all about like the conception. This is about making your bedroom feel like what a boudoir is for you. That when you walk in here, you're not thinking about like, let's get a good night's sleep. You're thinking about like let's connect. This is about the connection. This is about you two. This is about, a conception of love in that sense. So, and I have to say, like, almost every client I've worked with when it comes to the bedroom and conception have conceived. And, sometimes it was like creating a new space, like, oh, we've been co-sleeping and we're having fertility problems. So let's create a new little nook, for the toddler to sleep in. In fact, one time we made a closet into a sleeping nook in the master bedroom. And imagine that. There was a conception pretty soon afterwards. So, it's interesting how the bedroom can undermine things that we don't realize.
yeah. And this is true for all your home. There are symbols everywhere and our homes are just telling our story.
Yes. Homes do
Yes.
tell our story. That's such a great point. Yeah. And
Yeah.
honoring each other's story. So it's not, you're starting in the bedroom, but if there is something, like the thing that's like annoying, like being able to be in partnership and honor each other. Um, you know, Obviously years ago, I had a client in New York who was a young widow from 9/11. Her husband died in the towers, and she had found love again. But she still wanted, and she was about to move in with her fiance, but we had a conversation like, where I still want to honor, like there are some things from my husband that I want to honor. I don't want to like completely forget him, and my fiance doesn't want me to forget him either. He honors that part of my life, but I don't want that in our bedroom. So, we talked about, creating a little space to honor him, that was not in the bedroom, but in a place that she was in more, that she could create. There was like a part of a hallway that she was in most of the time. And, she created a little like altar, you might call it an altar, excuse me, to honor that relationship. And it gave, her fiance an opportunity to support her and not have it in his face. So
Yeah.
it's about like really being conscious of not giving up what's important to you, but honoring the other person and how that might be affecting them.
Yeah. So, okay. So I would like to wrap it up a little bit. So we talk about that in a relationship, if you want to like just nurture your relationship and bring more love, it's the most about the respect to each other and let express both in like harmonious way like and with respect and you can use colors to like change vibration, be aware of symbols because behind each symbol and picture there is a story behind it, and you need to know what story brings that object into your home and into your relationship. And did I forget something?
I think you've done a
So,
great job of summing it up. I think it's really with as much as there might be commonalities that work better, for most people, I think that what you're really saying is like this is an opportunity to really enrich your relationship by respecting each other and being in partnership
yeah,
of what is important to both of you. What is the environment that you want to create? And it might start, one person might take over the physical creation and design and use that as a creative outlet. And I totally celebrate that. But it needs to start with a common conversation and intention and respecting what might be joyful for one person might be a really painful trigger for another, um, honoring that for both people.
yeah, and also to use the home for like creating visible reminders of what is our relationship about, what are our core values, and just things like this, and it just helps to remind it constantly like, oh, we love each other, look at this picture, it's both
Right,
yeah,
right. And there's always solutions. Like that is like one of my joys as a as a consultant of working with clients one to one is like this is where he's at and this is where she's at, or this is where she's at and this is where she's at, and and being able to go, okay, let's figure out how we make this work for both of you. I love that. Like to me, there's always a solution. There's
yeah.
always a solution.
Yeah. So, okay, so maybe we can leave our audience with this hopeful message. There's always a solution. So, use the energy in your home. You can benefit from that. You can improve quality of your relationship by just being aware of that and just bring the right energy with intention to your home. Is there some last sentence from you? What do you
Mhm.
want to like share as the last message to the audience?
My gosh, I think it's really understanding what your intentions are and making sure that your space, that your inner story of what your intentions and your passions and what's important to you is reflected in your home. Your the one place in the world, your sacred space, and getting to honor it as a sacred space.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you, Christy, for this conversation. Thank you all for watching and see you by the next episode.
Yes,
Bye.
thank you.